It's round 2 of the NRL for footytips.com.au. Sam Bruce alongside Brett Kimmorley. Brett, we kick off round 2 with the Bandage Bear Cup between the Bulldogs and Eels out there at Homebush.
Yeah, it's a great clash. Obviously, traditional rivalries. You'd think now that Parramatta on the performance they had last week will find some extra fans. I'd think there'd be 40 to 50,000 people there on Friday night. Bulldogs are obviously missing Josh Reynolds. So it's a big loss. They were extremely poor last week. They did get beat by 6 points, but don't forget it was 24-0 at one stage. Big pack of forwards, dropped the ball and were very lethargic. So Parramatta were very aggressive against Manly. They're going to have to be even more aggressive against the Dogs to contain the forward pack. But I'm going to say that Parramatta will go back-to-back.
Good start to the season for the Eels coming up. Following that, we've got the Sharks and Broncos down there at Ramonda Stadium down in Cronulla. The Sharks, tight losers to the Raiders, so a pretty tight game, whereas the Broncos, well, they were just disgraceful against the Bunnies.
Well, I think that both sides were extremely poor. You know, let's say the Sharks got close to winning the game against the Raiders, but they were horrible. Bad completion rate, bad errors. Ben Barber and Anthony Milford, that's an attraction to watch. They're two 5'8", or two previous fullbacks that are playing 5'8", and they really struggled to hit any form in round 1. So both will be under a little bit of pressure who can stand up. You know, Sam Thaida's been dropped to the bench. It's obviously the start of Wayne Bennett's back home in Brisbane and will return the Aura. So it's hard to pick who's going to win because they're extremely poor. I think the Brisbane win the game. I think Brisbane are good enough to come to Ramonda and just turn up and get a performance. I'm unsure how Cronulla are going to play. I'm unsure their structure they're going to play with. They've got good forwards, but I'm going to say Brisbane will respond better than Cronulla.
What did you make of Wayne Bennett's comments about Anthony Griffin saying that he was to blame for the Broncos' start last week?
No, I think he's trying to blame the fact that it's not his fault. It's like Des Hasler blamed the referees for his performance. You can't. It's like coaches throw off what they're trying to hide, and they played bad, Brisbane. He coached bad. They used their bench bad. Their discipline was poor, and it all falls into one bloke. Wayne's the coach now. Wayne's got to take all responsibility.
Panthers and Titans in Carrington Park out there in Bathurst. The Panthers going bush for the weekend. A good win over the Dogs, albeit with that doggies fight back, while the Titans, they were just edged by the Tigers.
I thought the Titans were brave last week. You know, they were up against it, backs to the wall mentality. They cracked 10,000 fans, which was really good. You know, they've been quite struggling for numbers up there on the Gold Coast. 14,000 fans. Penrith take the game to Bathurst. It's the second year in a row they've done it. They had a cracker game out there last year against Cronulla. Peter Wallace did his knee in this game last year. They just got home. So Penrith were great. Seguiero last week was a star. Active dummy halves in the current rule interpretation is great. Seguiero was on fire. Moylan now has been spoken about being possibly the New South Wales fullback. Against the Titans, I think they were brave last week. I don't know what they got the fight for this week. It's going to be harder that second week to get up. I think Penrith win quite easy.
Okay, Manly and the Storm. Of course, Manly have been in the news this week with Daly Cherry Evans. Was announced before that game last week, which can't have been great for the side. While the Storm, they were pretty good against the Dragons on Monday night.
Oh, I think the Storm were clinical. I don't know if they've got the strike power anymore they used to have, but they've still got the best 3 players in the world in key positions. They execute plays, they wear you down, and they got some defensive power back again. You know, I think Dale Finucane is a great purchase for him. It just makes him a better forward pack. Kafusi got put on charge the other day, but I think he can play as well. So they'll wear you down, the Melbourne Storm. They'll build a game plan and they'll strangle you. I think Manly were very poor last week. There's a lot of problems out there at Manly. Daly's got another week of disruptions. They've lost Kieran Foran. They're not as hard as they used to be in the forward pack. I think the Storm do a good job on them.
Cowboys and Knights up in Townsville. Cowboys looking to bounce back from a horror show against the Roosters, who were very good, while the Knights, a good win over the Warriors at home.
Yeah, that's right. Newcastle come from behind. You know, that's a bit of culture building there. You know, obviously new coach and Rick Stone got 1-from-1 is his debut at the moment. So they were tough, Newcastle. They were brave. So I think they'll go to North Queensland not fearing the Cowboys. They'll know there'll be a bounce back from the Cowboys. They were absolutely horrible. And they have been horrible round 1 for a number of years now. So I don't know why that's been happening in North Queensland. But they will respond. They are at home. The players will get a rocket put into them. You know, obviously Jonathan Thurston is a super competitive player. He will want to respond and lead. And I think the Cowboys win, but it'll be a close game.
Game of the round surely has to be the Rabbitohs and Roosters, traditional rivals, Sunday afternoon footy. Does it get any better?
I don't think it does at the moment. They were the standout sides of round 1. They were great. Physically, they just outmuscled the opposition. Skill-wise, they outscored the opposition and both scored plenty of points. So it's going to be really hard to see who's going to win this. You know, I'm going to say Souths will win because they've probably got more confidence in the Roosters. They're carrying that mantra that we're the champions. That might be just the thing that gets them over the line. But I can't wait to see the two halves, Reynolds and Mitchell Pearce, go up against it because they're the form halves. The forward pack are going to bash each other on. It'll be a full house, I think, on Sunday.
Have you seen a defending Premier start better than South did last week?
No, I don't think I have. I think, obviously, they've been building for a number of years. The aura is starting to create there that they feel like they're bulletproof. You know, it reminds me of the Broncos in the 90s. It reminds me of the Melbourne Storm in the early 2000s. And I think they've got the players, and the players are going to get better. Kiri's going to get better. Walker's going to get better. Gresmill's been added to the side. I think they're better. They're going to get better again. So it's harder to think how are they going to stop them.
The Raiders and the Warriors are down there in Canberra on Sunday evening. Raiders' first good win up over the Sharks last Sunday, while the Warriors, they were pretty disappointing, and Sean Johnson has come in for a heap of criticism.
He has, yeah, the Golden Boot winner. They said he was nowhere to be seen last week in the game. So expectations were the Warriors have learned how to travel. The Warriors are going to turn up, and all of a sudden we think that we can rely on them. Well, they let you down, didn't they? Every time you build hope in the Warriors, for some reason they let you down. So they'll respond. They will certainly respond. You know, they've got good history of going to Canberra and getting a victory down there at Canberra Stadium. Canberra were good last week. The completion rate was a little bit poor, but they actually had some structure and built a game plan. And I thought Frank Paul Nuosola and Soliola were really good for them. They've added the forward pack. They're a physical forward pack. I thought Jack Whiten was the star of the game. Jack Whiten, I know he had some issues in the game and other dramas, but he was a star. Obviously named at fullback again. He's played 4 games at fullback, and the Raiders have won all 4 games that he's played at fullback. So I don't think that's in anything to think about that he's a superstar and he helps them as a player. So this is going to be a very tight game. I think the Warriors will win. It'll be a close game, but I think only win because they're going to have that bounce back approach.
And wrapping up round 2, it's the Tigers and Dragons out there at Campbelltown Stadium. Tigers got away with that win up on the Gold Coast, while the Dragons, they were just woeful.
Yeah, and the Dragons are going to have to respond. You know, they tried all their structure and they played a bit of footy against the Melbourne Storm, but I thought the Melbourne Storm were very good defensively. So hard to play footy when there's no momentum. They have a lot of set plays, the Dragons. They're a much more structured football side. But when you've got no momentum, it's really hard. So Paul McGregor will be into them this week about, you know, let's be a bit more aggressive. Let's get over the ad line. And I suppose for the Tigers, it was a nice win. First up for Jason Taylor. Great field goal from Pat Richards. They'll get better. I suppose, thankfully, Mitchell Moses didn't wear any charge and is able to play again, because the more momentum that the Tigers are able to gather with the same side, new coach and everything, just the calmer the play stays. So I think the Tigers win. First home game at Campbelltown. Hopefully there'll be a good crowd.
Okay, Brett, so just running through your tips again, they were the
Eels, Broncos, Panthers, Storm, Cowboys, Rabbitohs, Warriors, and the Tigers.
Thanks very much for coming in, Brett. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.